Afternoon, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. John Kelly, profiler here, and welcome. Welcome to today's show. Bryan Kohberger, no DNA? What about the knife sheath? You know, at this time, I got to put out a disclaimer that Bryan Kohberger is innocent, proven guilty in a court of law. And pretty much what we're stating here is what's been in the news and a lot of allegations. But definitely food for thought. And at this time, I want to send our condolences to the family and friends of the murdered kids. I'm very sad for what happened up there. I think it was a horrible situation. So our condolences go out to the family and friends of Eaton, Madison, Kaylee, and Xana. God bless you wherever you're at. And God bless your family. It's horrible situation, I will tell you. And, the other thing we have to talk about is, the knife sheath Bryan Kohberger's, right? Is it his? Because it had his DNA on it, so you would think open and shut case, it's his. Not if they toss the DNA, he could turn around and say it's not his. Or he could turn around and come up with other excuses. And in fact, if they do kick the DNA, but they leave the knife sheath in, what's his excuse going to be, right? Think about it. We want to hear from you. Because if you're not working the angles are working you, right? So we want to cover as many angles as we can here. Oh yeah, I had a knife like that, but I sold it when I got to college. I needed the money, and I sold it early on. Long before the kids were murdered in the house. Or maybe he could say, a guy tried to sell it to me. I mean, I handled it, but I didn't want to buy it. I already had a knife, and I didn't need another one. Or I had a number of knives, and I didn't need another. Yeah, some guy tried to sell it to me, and I handled it. I looked at it, took it out of the sheet, put it back in the sheet, buttoned it back up, but I didn't buy it, and I don't know who the guy was, some student here, and I never saw him again. And maybe you should talk to him. Or I have my knife sheet right here. That's not my knife sheet. That wasn't mine. I have mine right here. Some of these people that like knives have duplicate knives and knife sheets. Okay, they collect them. All right. For instance, like Richard Allen in Delphi. Okay, collected knives. He had 13 in his bedroom or something like that. I don't remember. So he could turn around and pop up with his knife and a knife sheet and say, no, that's not mine. Like I said, a guy was trying to sell me one, and I handled a knife in the sheath. But, I have mine right here. Here it is. Because people do have duplicates. People that are into knives can collect knives. Take my word for it. All right. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm just coming up with some different angles and excuses that we may hear. Because I'm going to tell you something right now. There is no way Bryan Kohberger can turn around and say that that is his knife sheet. No way. No way. No way in the world. Because if he admits to that, he's toast. He cannot say that that is his knife sheet. He's got to work his way around it if they can't kick the DNA, which they are going to try, and they're trying already, is to kick the DNA and the genealogy, right? Okay. How can they prove he was even there if they get the DNA tossed? How can they prove he was even there if they get the DNA tossed? Think about it. If he wasn't there, he couldn't kill anybody. No question about it. Driving around in his car and this and that and up and down the road, or hanging out or peeping or whatever, anything like that, doesn't mean he killed anybody. Doesn't mean he was inside that house stabbing people. So his car being in the area, again, is circumstantial to support him being there and the knife sheet and the DNA and all. But without without tying that knife sheet to him and the DNA, it's going to be a rough road to haul. You know, there was no fingerprints on the knife sheet, none. So from what we know, we heard there was DNA, but no fingerprints. Bryan Kohberger's fingerprints to this point has not been put on that knife sheet. Well, anybody that's going to commit a murder like this or whatever could just clean it down, wipe it off, put gloves on. And I'm sure that's the way the predator attacked the house. He was all suited up and ready to go, and everything was cleaned off. So there was no sign of fingerprints. He didn't expect to get caught on the tab with a little bit of skin follicles, some little skin follicles, which got him caught because of his DNA. His DNA was there. The other thing I'm thinking about too is, not only was his fingerprints not on the knife sheet, but nobody else's was either. I mean, there were no fingerprints on that knife sheet at all, from what we know. So, again, how does he play that angle? Okay, if it wasn't yours, who was it? Well, I don't know. The killer's, well, I don't know who the killer was. That's how it's going to get played. The other thing I'm focused on that it's kind of bothered me, he probably left on a high, and he was very content after his deed, probably a fork, right? So even though he left with the knife sheet, he felt he committed the perfect crime. I mean, even though he didn't leave with the knife sheet, I'm sorry, he felt he committed the perfect crime because he had it all wiped down. There was no fingerprints, nothing on it, as far as he thought. Again, he forgot about the little bit of DNA. So he was probably euphoric leaving the area if he committed the murders, thinking to himself, well, they won't get anything anyway because I wiped it all down and I wore gloves, forgetting about the little tab because that wasn't cleaned off. He forgot to do that. No crime is perfect. And obviously, he wasn't perfect here, even though he was a criminology major and he's going for his doctorate. The phone was turned off too. This is ironic. I mean, it seems the only time his phone was turned off, which I have a hard time believing ever, but it seems through the course of that day or whatever, it seemed, and it's ironic that his phone was turned off for 2 hours. And it happened to be the 2 hours when the crime was being committed and when he went for his joyride, and listened to music and can't bring any witnesses forward to prove that he went anywhere and he wasn't around the house. And the other thing we have to remember is before graduating DeSales, he did research by interviewing criminals. So, that again is very interesting to me because I think, he's trying to figure out, how is it possible somebody could commit a perfect crime? How do you commit a perfect crime? Well, get information from as many criminals as maybe, dissect it all, put it all together, and maybe it could be done. Maybe it could be done. How did these guys get caught? How did they feel when they committed the crime? I want all that information, okay? And that's exactly what he did. I mean, think about it. He's interviewing and doing research on these criminals, and he's asking them, how they committed the crime, how they got caught, how they got away with crimes, how did they feel after they committed crimes, et cetera, and so on and so on, so forth. Bottom line is he wanted as much knowledge as he could get. And that was before he graduated from DeSales. So, I think there's a lot of circumstantial evidence here, and that we've got a lot to support that Bryan Kohberger, if in fact he is the killer, got a lot of evidence to support his guilt. However, without putting him in that house, folks, it's going to be a rough road to hoe. So anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. I truly appreciate you all. Please like and subscribe if you like what we're doing, and we'll certainly keep you posted. We've got a lot of great cases coming up, and we're very focused in on trying to solve the mysteries. And again, we want all your feedback and comments. It's very important to us, and we'll always get back to you. Thank you so much for your time today. Please be safe. It's a rough world out there and a violent world. Most importantly, make it a great day. Like I said, stay safe. And until we meet again, God bless. Thank you.